Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for being in the audience and everyone who's here. Super excited because we did get a bunch of announcements as far as what we got coming down the pipeline in the future of the High Republic. But B, we have an amazing guest that was an inspiration to myself and Element as well. We have Star Wars Explained, and we are going to be doing some deep dives right here on Dyad in the Force.
Unseen for generations, a Dyad in the Force.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Dyad in the Force. Shout outs to the people in the chat: Danny, Fabian, Fabio, Star Wars Lawyer, Jupiter 77 or Trip Sevens, Connor Fahey, Sokka, Master 2187, Harith Productions, Saint Pat, Ace, Bronx, Ven Skywalker. Lots of people in the chat today. X-Core Gamer Skills, Klein Sonier. I hope I'm saying that right. Yes, we are live with a very special guest. As Brandon or Choco said, a huge inspiration to a lot of Star Wars fans and Star Wars creators, especially those who talk about lore. Alex, Star Wars Explained, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for being on. I know, being a large creator, your schedule is rather busy, or you're just busy like with all the projects and whatever your schedule is like. I was surprised to even get a response. I reach out to a lot of creators to collaborate, and when you responded, I was thrilled.
Oh, well, I mean, I knew who you were. I'd seen some of your videos already, and I mean, it is a busy time, which is weird because like the Bad Batch isn't even on. I'm working on my yearly canon timeline video, which is just under an hour long this year, but you need to force yourself to take breaks sometimes. So this is a welcome break from that.
I have my frames mixed up, so Choco, take it away while I fix this frame.
It's really cool though to have more people to talk to that really like to get to the nitty gritty and like to dive down deep into lore, because that's really, when it comes to I feel like there's a lot of like misunderstandings or misconceptions, but like this is like such a deep and interconnected universe that it kind of fits like a Rubik's Cube, where you can make one side look good, but the rest is trash. Everything kind of has a place, and when you start understanding the pieces, then like everything flows. And a big part of that is watching Star Wars Explained explanations on things, especially you can go to Wikipedia and see the videos right there. I'm curious, Alex, what's your favorite Star Wars book? Favorite book in Star Wars, favorite Star Wars era?
Favorite book? I'm probably going to have to go Rogue Squadron, the old X-Wing novels. I think that's what really pulled me into the expanded universe when I was in 4th or 5th grade. Like I got into Shadows of the Empire, obviously, because video game. And then I read that novelization. And then I was like, okay, that was good. And I'm going to just keep on kind of going chronologically. But man, I remember loving the X-Wing books. And I've always been a pilot fanboy ever since A New Hope. So that really just grabbed me. It's kind of my gold standard for Star Wars books. Really loved Light of the Jedi more recently. But that's always the one that jumps into my head first is X-Wing Rogue Squadron.
So that means you're excited about Rogue Squadron by Patty Jenkins?
I usually don't film reactions to things. I'm not a very excitable person when I'm watching trailers or whatever. I'm usually just kind of like, cool. And
that's Choco's flavor.
And, like mentally, things are going crazy. But man, I wish I were recording a reaction to them announcing Rogue Squadron, because like I just jumped up off the couch. I was like pacing, jumping around. Like I never in my wildest dreams would have guessed that they were going to make a Rogue Squadron movie. I was like, maybe a series someday, maybe. I just didn't think that was something that enough people would be interested in. I thought it was like, it's me and like a handful of other diehard pilot fans, and that's not enough to get a movie going. But that was an exciting day.
It's got the helmet right there.
Yeah, I mean, it means I gotta ask. We just had Victory's Price come out. Your thoughts on the Alphabet Squadron trilogy?
I love them as well. I think I love them for different reasons. I probably prefer the X-Wing books more. I like those plot lines. They feel, I mean, back then, the books were like the backbone of Star Wars storytelling. So I felt like Rogue Squadron got to do a lot more, and it felt like their impact on the galaxy was very great. The Alphabet Squadron books are so much more personal. They're about these 5 characters and how war changes them. And like these books they're heavy. Like they have a lot to say, but I love them for that reason as well.
Especially Victory's Price. You get to see like it's the same people on both sides. It's a really fascinating in the time period as well.
I usually just do a non-spoiler review for books, but that was one where I was like, nope, I'm gonna talk about this one as well. I gave it like a week or two, and then I did a full-on spoiler review of Victory's Price because there's just so much to talk about.
Well, okay, so before we jump into our actual topics, now this leads me to another question. Favorite ship in Star Wars. I gotta ask your favorite ship, and I gotta go both. One for canon, one for Legends.
Okay. I mean, I'm pretty basic there. The X-Wing. If I could just have an X-Wing, that would make my dreams come true. I'll try to think of a Legends only ship. I always kind of liked the E-Wing. It's it's basically like a Battlestar Galactica Viper. I don't know what it was about that ship that I liked a lot, but that's the first thing that's jumping into my head. So I'll go E-Wing.
Nice.
That's
How
kind
about
of
you,
like
Pep?
that's kind of like the Vector is almost kind of like a Galactica Viper, but just with like more extended
it's like
wings.
Flatter.
Yeah. No, I definitely from canon to Legends, it's always going to be the Mandalorian, Fang, and Gauntlet ships. Those they look like a blast to fly. But yeah, I mean, of course, Vector is in there as well. But I don't know. I prefer, or my favorite is the Mandalorian starships. They look aggressive.
Yeah. So for me, in canon, I just love the Vectors and the concept of them. But Legends, specifically the Stealth X, when they're riding around in those, like, I don't know, all black everything. Yeah, it's just beautiful.
Well, we did have slated on the notes a short introduction, but I feel like everybody knows you. St. Pat says, what did they say? Trying to find it again. Is it that far up? No, it's not. Star Wars Explained was his introduction to Star Wars creators on YouTube. Star Wars Explained was my first introduction. Right. I guess just everybody knows who you are.
Well, we know who he is. I'm curious about your story, like how you started out really diving deep into the X-Wing books, but is there more to the story, more to your love of Star Wars and where it's coming from, or?
I mean, it was a pretty standard story. I think I was introduced to it when I was, I think 8. I think I was in 2nd grade, and so maybe I was 7. But I was introduced to it by my dad over a summer, and they had the TBS tape, like they just taped it off of TBS, and so we would just throw that VHS in, and I watched that until the tape broke, and then they were finally like, "All right, we'll buy you the real one." And also there's 2 more movies. They kind of like let me wear myself out. They're like, if he's just going to watch this every day, maybe we should just let him do that until he's tired of it. And so then I got to watch the other 2. And I don't know, it was just like the perfect time to be a Star Wars fan. Like I feel like I was very lucky because it was only a couple years after that. I think 2 years, and then like the special editions were coming out, and then 2 years after that the prequels were coming out, and I was 12, so they were like perfect for me. I never fell into any of that like this isn't Star Wars as a fan. I was just like, yep, this is more Star Wars, and I love it. So I feel lucky that I kind of got to experience the prequels at that age still.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I think that's everyone's story at some point. Somebody introduced them to Star Wars, and for me it was my brother with the VHS tapes. He just walked in one day and he was like, we're gonna watch these, and I was like, okay. What about you, Choco? If you want to reiterate that, regale us.
yeah. I mean, my mom was always a closet nerd, so my story is similar to Alex, where I had a VHS tape of Empire Strikes Back that I watched until I broke the tape, and then that's about the time that the special editions and stuff were coming out, and just kind of never looked back. But a lot of my deep love really came. I mean, I've always been a huge fan, but I ended up having this job where I was doing a lot of physical manual labor. And my housing situation sucked, so I was always at the gym instead of being home. So I had headphones in my ears like 12 to 14 hours a day, and I got into audiobooks, and I listened to absolutely everything. And once you like start downloading all this information as you're watching podcasts and things like that, and people are asking questions, you're like, oh, I know that was answered in this book over with this, so that this was answered over there. And then it starts to ruin those podcasts for you. But that's why I've always loved Star Wars Explained, because you're already there on that same level. So appreciate it.
Absolutely. Mentally ill Sith Lord in the chat says Star Wars Explained taught me most of my knowledge prior to me buying books myself. That's also a pretty common story with Star Wars Explained. I think everyone watched your videos and they were like, let's just get into it, let's start reading.
Well, I love hearing when people say that they started buying the books themselves. Like that's that's what the real goal is, I think, is to be like, man, there's so much more than just the movies, or now the movies and the TV shows feel very mainstream. Like, I mean, my parents were Star Wars fans. They liked Star Wars growing up, but they never read the books or certainly never watched the Clone Wars. But now it's like every week we talk about The Mandalorian when it's on. So it's fun seeing people grow into the fandom outside of the movies.
It's weird, like nowadays as well, considering, the TikTok community that Choco and I have been a part of for a while now. There are a lot of people now that read the books or have been reading the books, and we're just now discovering them. So it's always, I think, at least for me, speaking for me, when I came into this, having been a book reader for a while and talking about books and people asking, where do I start? Like, I'm getting into canon books now. There's so many, where do I begin? And to now, I think after a couple of months, the comments are, I just read this, it's amazing. And we're getting more comments of people having read books than where do I start, which is an amazing realization after a while.
I mean, one of the reasons I started making content was A, to clear up some of the misconceptions, but B, because I wanted to start a book club, which, I've been able to do and go through quite a few books and just encourage that in the community. So it's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Awesome. Do you have any stories like that, Alex, about like people coming up to you or meeting you and thanking you for like getting them into the books or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, people will tweet or leave comments, or lots of different ways. People have just been like, thank you for recommending this book, and that book got me into these books. And those are always the things I love to hear. The meetings I always remember the most are the like younger kids, because they're always the ones that will come up and just ask me like a trivia, not a trivia question, but they're like, do you have an answer for this thing? And I'm like, I can't believe you thought to ask that. And no, I don't. And the kids, like, they know more than I do. And I always think that that's hilarious. They will take me over and destroy me one day.
We are what they grow beyond, you know? That's
Absolutely. I mean, and you know, it's these questions that you start asking or start answering as a lore channel, and then like you start getting really, really, you know, obscure or esoteric questions. You're like, what is the answer to that?
Yeah.
And then it makes you research even more. I always love just the never-ending rabbit hole that is a lore channel when everyone expects you to know the answer to everything.
Yeah.
We got Dagovere in the chat. Thank you for tuning in, Lord Dagovere. Oh my God, 2 Respawn Products chairs hypes. We need to get a third one. We need to get a third one for my Dyad over here.
yeah. Tell Respawn, you know, I need a chair. My chair is terrible.
Mentally Ill Sith Lord says, I love seeing so many people come into the book reading community because I could finally talk about my favorite parts of Star Wars. Absolutely. And that's another thing too, right? Because I think how many years now, 40 plus years we've had Star Wars of Star Wars movies and shows, and that's all we could talk about with people. But once everyone started reading the books, you had so much more to talk about, especially Legends fans too.
Not to mention just they said that that's what some of their favorite Star Wars stories is, that some people I think put a lot of pressure on the films when it's like that's all they see, and it's once a year or once every 3 years, or, you know, once every however many years a movie comes out. It's like this is the Star Wars content I'm going to take in for a long time, and if they don't like it, it's like really disappointing. But when I see a Star Wars movie that I'm like, that wasn't exactly what I wanted, I'm like, oh well, like I really liked that book that just came out, or whatever video game has come out. I'm really enjoying that. So there's so much more to Star Wars than just the movies. And as we keep getting more and more shows and stuff, it's like, yeah, there's just going to be so much Star Wars going on that it's like, yeah, if that one thing isn't for you, it's like, it's okay, because the next thing, maybe it will be.
It's interesting. I never quite like had that exact thought of, for a lot of people, there is nothing for a long time, and they get a movie every other year or whatever. And for me, I get something every couple of months. And I'm like,
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm pretty spoiled.
This whole phase of High Republic, and we'll get to that in a couple of minutes, but this whole phase of like High Republic, this stream of releases that we're getting all throughout the year, it's like, you would think that, you know, some people might be envious of how much content you're consuming, but then there are others who just are not, you know, and that is the state of the fandom we're in right now. Shout out to Heather Collins, who says, tell Star Wars Explained he is the best Star Wars YouTuber ever. I agree, absolutely. Xcore Gamer Skills says, Choco and Element got me reading Star Wars books. Hadn't read any before Light of the Jedi. Now I've read 4. That is awesome. 4 books.
I think my hopefully I'm not putting her on blast, but there was someone as part of the book club that hadn't read any Thrawn prior to that, and now has read everything and cosplays as a Chiss. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, that it's a cool feeling to watch someone go down that journey.
Yeah. So let's talk about the state of the fandom. You know, just as we mentioned just now, how there's just the 9 movies, maybe just the shows, Clone Wars and Rebels, Resistance. But there's so much of Star Wars out there for everyone to enjoy. It's kind of discouraging to see how divided the fandom is when... how many years out are we from The Last Jedi and we're still seeing videos about it, complaining about it? And I just wanted to get a feel for from you guys as to like specifically how you feel about the conversation that dominates the fandom now, and of course maybe what can be done, if at all, to kind of heal this division.
I always try to first remember and frame it in a way that it's like it's more the online part of the fandom that really is divided, feels divided, whatever you want to call it. But that's already like a small subsect of the fandom, where most Star Wars fans are like, they go to the movies or they watch the shows and they're like, I liked that or I didn't, and then they move on with their lives. So we're talking about like a division between people who are into Star Wars enough that they would start Twitter accounts or YouTube channels or what have you. And like, so I try to remember that it's not like the entire fandom is split down the middle. It's like, we're talking about the 5 or 10% on either side of an argument. And then that's just the discussion that you see all the time. I don't know. That's just helpful for me to remember that most people, most of my friends who are Star Wars fans, if I ever say like, oh, well, this was happening on Twitter this past week, they're like, what are you talking about? So it's not really the full reality, but yes, online, it still does feel discouraging sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Like, because I've was hesitant. I've only made content for less than a year. It hasn't been a full year yet. But I was afraid to go into the YouTube space because of, you know, this conversation that kind of dominates things.
Don't worry about it. This is part of life.
Mine might speak up at any moment.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. And as soon as I started making content, and yes, my comments were getting flamed like quite a bit, but it's largely stopped, and at least for me personally. And I get so many comments of like, hey, you know, I was afraid to make content because of this, you know, as well. Like, there's a lot of people that would join but don't want to focus entirely on the negative. And so I do believe, you know, just like they said in Rise of Skywalker, there's more of us. There's more people that enjoy it than get their enjoyment from talking about how much they don't enjoy it.
Yeah,
which is weird.
and that's sort of where I fall on this as well. Like, I've always thought that the negative Nancys, or the people who enjoy being negative about Star Wars more so than they are celebratory of it, you know, because they are true fans. I always felt like they were the vocal minority. And yeah, that quote from The Rise of Skywalker sums it up rather well. There are more of us. And I always tried to take that position when I was making videos. Like, I did my positive review of The Rise of Skywalker, and I didn't really go, it wasn't like a deep thinking analysis. It was literally, I watched this with my nephews and they were having a blast. So why am I going to sit there and just destroy their joy and pick apart the movie? At the end of the day, that's not what it's about. It's, you know, well, it was made for kids. And if the kids enjoy it, then that's all that really matters. But
I mean, I really love how Star Wars Santa put it in our recent conversation. If you're the guy that goes to a mall Santa just to tell the kids in line that Santa isn't real, the problem is you know, like, if people are enjoying the magic, then there's nothing wrong with that. They should be allowed to enjoy it. And it was just really brought into perspective when, because I have a Discord server, and as a group, we watched The People versus George Lucas, right, which came out in 2010. And it was incredibly eye-opening because every single complaint verbatim was the same then as it is now, which is just, I don't know, it's just funny, but it shows that we have a place to go. It still gets down a little bit disheartening though when something I love so much, like the High Republic, especially loved, in Into the Dark. I think it's a great book. When you see this new stuff get released, and then the comment section is a bunch of bots saying the same thing over and over again, and you're like, why? Just why?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it ultimately doesn't really matter. I mean, it's frustrating, don't get me wrong, but it's like the High Republic comic is going in for its 5th printing. Like all 3 of the books were New York Times bestsellers, some of them on the top of the charts for multiple weeks. Like it's doing fine, no matter how much people might yell about it.
That's
more
true.
than fine, I should say.
That's something we don't. That's something I admittedly don't really. I'm like, I see the tweets out there from like Siglain and Soul and all of the authors, and they're celebrating New York Times bestsellers. But I'm like focusing in on like the hate and the dislike ratio on the YouTube channels, and it.
I mean, your focus determines your reality. So that's something that I often try to remember, and it's the same thing for the people who are angry, and like that's what they're focusing on is their anger. It's like then your reality becomes more and more angry. But yeah, like I mean, we're going to talk about Claudia Gray in a little bit, but I have been fortunate enough to be able to interview all of the High Republic authors so far, and just getting to talk to them and know them personally and like share in their joy and excitement, like that has made me a lot more tuned in to seeing on Twitter when they're like, my comic is going in for a 5th reprinting. I'm like, that's so awesome. And knowing how excited they are about it. Those are the things that jump out at me more.
And it should. I think I need to shift my perspective as well. I need to take a lesson from Jedi Masters. It is objectively there. All of the facts are there that the High Republic is doing well. And they wouldn't be putting more money into more stuff. They announced Ronin, which is based on a Visions anime that's coming out, and so it seems to me that like, yeah, I gotta start ignoring some of this stuff. I just I want like at least a small part of me wants those videos to just be appreciated, because they do a lot of work, and a lot of work goes into their animations and releasing that stuff. And for a long time, appreciation for that on YouTube is likes, right? So, I mean, but at the end of the day, if the High Republic is doing well, then it's doing well, and we'll continue to get more High Republic stuff.
No, but I mean, like you said, that's a great attitude to have, and something I try to do to carry on myself. There are certain things I do try to address, because there are people, I have talked to a number of people who at one point or another would not have read something or got into it because of the conversation around it. So I do try to at least keep my finger on the pulse of that stuff, so that I can actually at least make a video that will inadvertently answer those questions. But yeah, ultimately we should absolutely focus more on the positive.
I do think that's a good point, though. Sometimes that stuff does bleed into the people who don't follow Star Wars as closely. So like I had a friend ask me about Geode, because they were like, so what's the deal with this rock character? And I was like, okay, A, Geode is a treasure. B, like, here's what he's about, like what his actual function in the story is. And once you explain that, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. And it just from what they hear through a random passing comment on Twitter or YouTube or whatever, like obviously it doesn't provide all that nuance.
Yeah.
We
stand Geode in this household.
This is a Geode Stan channel, absolutely. Olivia Burton says, I didn't love The Last Jedi at first, but now I love it so much. The problem with toxic fans is that they don't want to hear the other side of the debate. They just want to argue.
Also a good point. Like, I walked out of The Last Jedi feeling pretty like unsure. And it's still like some people put it at the top of their tier list. I don't, but I've really come to appreciate what it had to say and how it said it. And it was just something that, like, your first time sometimes watching a movie as a Star Wars fan with all this like lore in your head is that sometimes that can bog you down. But anytime I come across an episode or a movie or whatever that I didn't like, I will seek out the people who are like, this was great and here's why, because I want to hear that other side. Force Center podcast is really, really great at doing stuff like that. That's the first people I went to. I wasn't crazy about The Rise of Skywalker, and I immediately went and listened to what Joseph Scrimshaw had to say about it, because I knew he would provide a different perspective on it and stuff that I hadn't considered. So yeah, it's always fun to hear. I will never understand the people who won't actually engage in a conversation about why someone liked something that they didn't.
Yeah, and I mean, you said that's the whole reason I actually started my podcast, is because which is separate from Dyad. There's another one called The High Ground, and for every topic I find people. It's been mostly TikTok creators, but I'm expanding it now and finding people that love whatever the topic is and finding out why. And there's certain movies. When I walked out of Rogue One, no, it's an unpopular opinion, but I hated it. Rogue One was the lowest on my list. It was lower than Rise of Skywalker, actually. But having a bunch of Rogue One fans and having them explained like what was so special about it, why they connected with it and the characters. And then after I do an episode like that, I go rewatch the movie and see where it sits, and it jumped up a few places. You don't walk out of that without having some sort of additional appreciation. And who doesn't want to like more things? I know.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. Go for it.
Oh, it's something. Another thing that Joseph Scrimshaw says is to engage with the story being told. And I know that is often difficult for me, especially on a first viewing, is that, you go into a Star Wars movie or any movie really, or any franchise movie, and you kind of have these hopes and expectations of what you want to happen instead of just like going along for the ride. And sometimes I think it does take a couple viewings to let go of that stuff that you had in your head and be like, no, that's not the story that they wanted to tell. This is what they wanted to do, and try to look at what they're saying through it instead of just like, well, that's not what I would have done.
Yeah. And that was the whole thing. That was my contention with a lot of the hashtag not my Lukes during that time. And when I released my, so this was like day one after The Last Jedi came out, I put out my YouTube video or review saying it was the best thing since Empire Strikes Back. I did not know it was going to go down the path it went. But my original message from that video was, sometimes we have to, well, not sometimes, we have to watch these movies experiencing the story that's being told versus ascribing the story that we wanted to see. So a lot of people wanted to see benevolent Legends New Jedi Order Luke, but didn't get that. And so they were saying not my Luke, but at the same time they were missing such a compelling story from Luke in The Last Jedi that was enabling Mark Hamill to have one of his best performances as Luke. It always surprises me the discourse surrounding this movie as well. But that's a topic for another time. We're getting off rails a little bit. I also, I know it's not in the notes, but I wanted to just touch on it a little bit because I did see that you had a chance to actually have Katie Sackhoff on your stream, your charity stream. I just want to know what that experience was like.
It was crazy. I should say it wasn't exactly our charity stream. We were asked to be a part of it. It was through Rare Drop. They're the company that basically connected Katie and I. And that's Amphar is an organization that Katie is very passionate about. And they basically wanted to have someone in the Star Wars space play games with her and talk with her while we raised money. And obviously we were like, yes, please. So I just don't want to give us credit that we didn't deserve. But yeah, that was an amazing day. Super fun. She was everything you would hope her to be. So nice and pleasant and friendly. We're also big old Battlestar Galactica fans, my wife and I. So
yes.
We were just like bouncing between Star Wars and BSG. Like our dog is named after a Battlestar character, so we were just having the time of our lives. Hilo, actually.
Okay.
Carl Wagathon is his full name, but yeah, she was the best. And she even stayed. She was supposed to play with us for 2 hours. She played for 3. Sam Witwer popped in for like an hour. It was crazy.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
That is awesome. We also stand Boomer on this channel.
Yeah, I mean, was she able to give any kind of like hints for season 3 of The Mandalorian at all?
No, and that was even I warned her beforehand. I was like, I put together a list of questions that I know you are not allowed to answer.
Got it.
And so that every so often I would just be like, are you in The Mandalorian season 3? And she'd be like, I cannot confirm or deny. Are you in the Book of Boba Fett? And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, what is a Book of Boba Fett? And she's like, I can't tell. So that was just kind of our shtick for a while, is I would ask her a question that I knew she could not answer.
Yeah. I think it's difficult to... There's a small subset of fans on the TikTok community, at least in the TikTok space, where I get a lot of my, where I feel the room, or read the room. There's a lot of slander going on for Bo-Katan right now.
How dare?
Yes, and I don't know why. I mean, like, listen,
everybody makes mistakes.
Yes, everybody does. And I recently did a video about this, like using that trending sound about controversial opinions. I was like, Bo-Katan deserves a chance at redemption as much as Vader, as much as Boba Fett.
That is definitely like something that I feel like I have to bring up over and over, is that, Star Wars is space fantasy, it's mythology. In the real world, do I think Darth Vader gets to make one frankly easy decision at the very last moment of his life and get to go to Force heaven? No, I don't think so. But in Star Wars, he does. Like, that's the precedent we have set. So yeah, Bo-Katan, yeah, she's no angel. And I think that means some fun things for her in the future of the show, because like, yeah, what's she going to do? She could help Din. She could attack Din. I can see it going either ways. I hope she helps Din. But it's good to have that, like, ooh, I don't know what she's gonna do kind of feeling.
Absolutely. Julia in the chat, I guess she is screaming, where is Corky, Katie? Where is he?
I did ask her. I said, is Corky alive or dead? Because you said you were the last of your line. And she just said, I don't know what you're talking about. As in, like, I can't answer that.
I'm sure we'll see something in season 3. I hope. I think it's there's a small subsection on TikTok right now that would go ballistic if Corky is in season 3.
I'm still not quite on the Corky train, but that's okay. It is different strokes for different folks.
Okay, so let's talk about your interview with Claudia Gray, because as much as this is a Geode Stan channel, in the Geode Stan community, this is a Claudia Gray shrine, basically, to everything she writes.
I'm on board with that.
Everyone in the chat most likely has read a Claudia Gray book, and if they haven't, that's what they're going to start on. My current favorite of canon is Into the Dark, which is Claudia Gray. Before that, it was Lost Stars and Bloodline, which is also Claudia Gray. Choco, would you like to say a few words for Claudia Gray?
It's funny because once the new books started like really coming out, there was Lost Stars as well as Aftermath, and I was like, oh, this is like a YA novel, whatever. I'll read Aftermath, and I wasn't too thrilled with the first Aftermath book. I did kind of trudge my way through it. The second and third books got much better, but I was like, oh man. And then I finally read Lost Stars and I was like, oh yeah, okay, this is what I've been missing. And then of course I read Bloodline after that, and then Leia, Princess of Alderaan, and Master and Apprentice, and even the short story Master and Apprentice that's inside of the From a Certain Point of View. And I always, looked at Timothy Zahn as kind of like the champion of the Star Wars writers, but Timothy Zahn books feel like Timothy Zahn books, and I love them. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love all of the Thrawn books, as well as my favorite Legends book is Allegiance. Super love that. I feel like it's highly underrated, but they all feel like Timothy Zahn books. Claudia Gray writes stories that are in different styles and with different characters, but it all has this heart. So yeah, we stand here.
So
I'm the same way.
I would think so. But like, what was the process of like landing that interview? How does that go? First of all, because we have experience interviewing Daniel Jose Older, but like that was a fluke and a half. So like, how does that work?
It probably wasn't as much of a fluke as you think it was, but I am on the list to get the books. Del Rey will send them to me on Kindle or physically a little bit before they come out. So I got on their list because of Christy Golden, another Star Wars author I really love. She saw my Dark Disciple review and was just kind enough to pass it along to Del Rey, and she said he should be on the list. And so like that got me onto their radar, and then from there I just had a contact at Del Rey. So as the High Republic books and comics are getting ready to come out, I just reached out and I was like, if anyone's interested, I'd love to talk about the High Republic with any or all of the writers. And they got me in touch with all of them, and I got to interview every single one of them. And I have also met Claudia at Dragon Con 2018, I think it was. No, 2017, because it was when Leia, Princess of Alderaan came out. So she did know vaguely who I was. I think that helps. But that's basically the process. Is just I'm lucky enough to have an email at Del Rey that I can send requests to.
That's awesome.
Someday, that's the goal. That's
well, the whenever people ask me like, how do you get on that list, I literally just say, do what you're doing, do a book club, do reviews, cover the books, and like they will notice.
Absolutely. That's the goal. That's what we're gonna do. I mean, the next one coming out, Rising Storm. We'll talk about that, of course. But what was the experience like interviewing these authors, especially Claudia Gray?
It was fun. I mean, they're all so nice. It's still, I've done quite a few author interviews and I still get nervous before every single one. Just like try not to feel like a fool or make yourself look like a fool in front of them, but because they feel like Star Wars royalty. Yeah. But they're all incredibly, once you start talking to them, they're like, yeah, they're normal people. They're very friendly. They're easy to talk to. So yeah, it was fun getting to know all of them a little bit more. And I like to ask goofy questions like, what's your favorite background character in Star Wars? Like, who's someone do you think you might be the biggest fan of in Star Wars, trying to find those C or D list characters. I really love asking anyone that, just to see what I can find out about their personality. What did they find lovable in a Star Wars character, even the small ones.
I mean, now you're forced to answer the question for yourself, if you don't mind.
Big Starglider. That's my he's my ride or die.
Nice. I mostly love Big Starglider because I play Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, and my Rebel Squad was elite. It's been surpassed now, but back in the day. But yeah, I'm the number one. I guess I don't know if he's C. Actually, C tier. Dex is my dude. I need a Dex's Diner TV show. I think it would be amazing. I have pitched this before, but imagine, because he runs like a space Denny's. So everyone that's here is like there from after some mission. I feel like this is like in like this is almost like the tavern that people come back to after their adventures are over. And so I want to see that play out, but he knows way too much, right? He knows what things are. He's like, oh yeah, that's a toxic dart. It comes from the Kaminoan cloners and all this stuff. Information's it's not even in the Jedi Temple anymore. He's in a witness protection program. So he's there. He's trying to keep his block safe from like the outside while trying to continue to hide his identity from anyone that would come in to harm him specifically. There's a show in that.
That's crazy. Not too long ago, someone asked Molly and I in our Q&A to pitch a podcast for a character in Star Wars. And Molly said Dexter Jetster, because he knows everything and he would be interviewing people who like went on crazy adventures. Like it's, that's so wild how close that is.
Everyone just wants more Dex. That's just it.
All right.
Who's your favorite C or D list?
I don't know if I've ever given this more thought than I needed to.
Well, keep it cooking for now, but I gotta ask Alex, what is because it sounds like you've interviewed pretty much all of the writers. Which one has been the most interesting interview so far? I imagine Daniel, because he's just he's an awesome
fun.
dude. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's so much fun to talk to. I think Cavan Scott is the interview where we just went the most off course. Like I had a bunch of questions, but we wound up just talking about horror a lot because he's a huge horror fan and he's written so many horror inspired stories. Like they're mostly for like the Adventures comics line, so they're for a younger audience, but he just loves to put horror elements in everything, including his current High Republic comics. So we just like went off on all these horror tangents, which was fun.
I can't wait to see him expand some more on the Drengir, and because there was some cool stuff, and also Skier with his plant arm, super weird, but I like it.
Spoiler alert.
I apologize. I get excited.
Can I say Jocasta new?
Yeah.
I want. I don't know how exciting of a show that would be, but I would like the library of the Jedi and just kind of going around telling tall tales from each holocron, and it's just like
Legends of the Crypt, but nice.
Yeah, basically. Or like the Princess Bride, she's reading each one, and then we see like a depiction of that story with each
I think that's
episode.
a really fun idea, like an anthology series. Every episode is just a different, like, random tale.
Absolutely.
Get a lot of variety in there.
And you're not like, you're not pigeonholed into telling one person's story or this character's story. It's just all over time, all over Star Wars Galaxy. And it could not be about a Jedi too. You can have like tales of like a Force sensitive that like Corran Horn or something will canonize some people.
Yeah, basically just like a youngling or a Padawan comes in, they need to research something or they need advice. They have to learn a lesson. And Jocasta News like, let me tell you a story.
Absolutely.
And then we just flashback, dive into that. I like that idea.
That's really good. Damn.
I mean, it's an offshoot from your your Ray reading Luke's journals anthology show. So it's kind of just like, well, this one makes a lot more sense in terms of like a library of stories, and it's not about one person.
Yeah.
Julia Christine says, I am the CEO of Corky TikTok, and it's my greatest accomplishment, not the PhD candidacy. Explain, or Alex, wow. Do a lot of people call you Explained?
Yeah, I don't take that personally. Like I call Eckert's Ladder Eck. I call Hello Greedo Greedo. Like it's just a force of habit at some point, because like that's how you know these people, and then you meet and you're still just like stuck in that mode.
Yeah, I make this joke that like because we have a Discord server and we're close to a lot of creators, close to a lot of people, but Brandon and I are probably the closest. But everyone else is on a first name basis, and and Choco and I are just Choco, Element, and we don't call each other by their first names. Everyone else we do, like Hannah, Sawyer, and all of them, we'll call them by their first names. But between us, we're still Choco and Element.
Yeah. Don't know why. It just happens.
But I did want to shout out that comment because, Alex, if you are on TikTok at all and you like Bo-Katan and Corky, I do suggest at Julia Christine 77 as well.
I've never been on TikTok. I need to check it out.
You should.
Molly's been on a little bit, but I've never. I'm very slow to adopt any social media. I'm always way behind. And then I get into it. I'm like, okay, I understand this. I get the appeal. Then I get sucked in. Because
a lot of people look at it as like the dance platform. It's like you do trending dances, but like I think a lot of us kind of appropriated it to be what we wanted it to be, like lore videos and answering people's questions. Because there's a cool little feature on TikTok where you can reply to a comment with a video straight up. So a lot of the lore questions that we get are our content. We would reply to it and just make the video about the lore or the answer. But definitely a lot more than dancing, for sure.
It's heavily underrated, in my opinion. And like, I never thought I would, I started making my very first video I ever made was on May 3rd of last year. I never thought I would be at 130,000 followers now over there, and like that's what's inspired me to continue on YouTube and do all this stuff. It's been an excellent way of connecting with people because there's a lot less distance between the creator and the audience, and I think that's a really cool thing, especially when it comes to building a community.
Yeah, and going off of our current topic, it's how we got in touch with Daniel Jose Older. He's on
TikTok a lot.
Yeah, he started it, and then Choco.
He started it. I saw that he had been replying to every comment, and I was like, "Hey, man, what if we interview?" He's like, "Sure." Like, all right, that was easy, I guess.
As simple as that. So the goal is to, of course, Justina Ireland, Charles Soule, Cavan Scott, and Claudia Gray. We would love to talk to them if you could, put out the Batman signal and no, I'm just kidding. I won't put you on the spot for that. But do we have any more questions about Claudia Gray, Choco? Was there any questions that you wanted to ask but you couldn't?
I mean, what? I mean, Alex, what was the most interesting thing that you were able to find out? I had questions for her that I still need to get answered. But yeah, I'm always curious about her how she comes up with these writers and with the relationships between people, because I think that's what her key is. Like Pax and Rahara is like one of the best ships in Star Wars, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm curious, Alex, if there's anything significant that you really came away from it with.
I'm trying to remember, because like all those interviews just turned into a blur, and I can remember what I asked. I can't remember some of the answers. So I'll jump off the back of something you said earlier, Choco, about how you were kind of like, I don't want to read Lost Stars because it's a YA book. And one of the things that she told me this back in 2017, but I asked her about it again to get it on the channel because I love it so much, is I told her how much I loved Lost Stars. And I was like, it really changed my mind on what YA was, because I just had like this weird stigma in my head for no real reason. And she was like, yeah, young adult books are just about young adults becoming adults. It's just people growing up. And she's like, all of Star Wars is young adult. And I was like, oh my God, you're right, it is. And ever since then, like a lot of the YA books I've liked more than the adult novels. So it's just really changed my perspective on some of that stuff, where I was like, that's not for me. I'm not going to check it out, when it's like, it might be one of the best things you've ever read, which Lost Stars is. So many people love that book, including me.
Yeah, there's this weird, I don't know, societal thing that we have where it's almost like if we think that a teenage girl will like it, we automatically hate it. And it just kind of like a weird stance where like even growing up, like NSYNC and stuff, hate them automatically, right? Though tearing up my heart kind of slaps, like but you just instantly throw it in the trash because no, that's for these people. There's people that won't join TikTok. Why? Bunch of teenage girls dancing. There's way more stuff. I've gotten like legitimate stock tips and stuff off of TikTok that have paid out really well. It's just a platform of information. But if you boil it down to, well, these teenage girls are doing it, then people like will dismiss it. And that's honestly what I've noticed, something that I've done myself, and especially with the young gay moniker on books. And I'm so happy that that's changed. I will say this though, going back to Claudia, the thing I need, and Julie Christine reminded me, is that I'm going to need her to write a story about Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon's first journey to Mandalore, with what happened with Satine. I feel like she has to be the one to write that story, because I need to know where all that stuff comes from.
I'm shocked that hasn't happened yet. Honestly, that feels like just do it.
It's a layup. You know what I mean? Yeah. Of all the people that you've been able, have the privilege of interviewing, which one has been your favorite
ever?
Or you're gonna put them on the spot.
They've all been wonderful in their own way. I'm trying to think of who. Paul Sun-Hyung Lee was so much fun to talk to. Again, that was another one that kind of felt like a fluke, where he was just kind of like reveling in him being part of the Mandalorian. He's a huge Star Wars fan. His show Kim's Convenience is so good, so heartfelt, so funny. But I just reached out to him. I was like, I'd love to talk to you about your experience. And he was so much fun to talk to. Just like the joy that comes off of him as a Star Wars fan, you can just feel it. And it's fun to vibe that way with someone.
Awesome. Dyad moment. Okay. We can move on to our main segment. The High Republic has some new stories that are releasing. I mean, we knew about these books from the beginning, but now they have released their synopsises. And is it synopsises or synopsy?
Synopses. I don't know.
Synopses.
That's my guess.
But
it's a snaggle of synopsis.
Yes, absolutely. But they have released their plot points, so we know more than just the cover of these books. Is there any of them that really stand out to you guys? I'm all for Edge of Balance, honestly, because it's our first kind of like original manga that's coming out for Star Wars. And it's funny because like we're getting a lot of like Jedi Knights teaching Padawans with a test of courage and with even with Into the Dark almost, because Dez was a new knight and Wreath was still a Padawan, or had he become? I don't remember. Wreath was still a Padawan.
Wreath is still a Padawan.
Okay. And Edge of Balance is in the aftermath of the Great Hyperspace Disaster. Jedi Knight Lily Tora Asi is helping the displaced on Banshee, which is an awesome planet name in the Inug system. And she's also balancing the arrival of like refugees and teaching the Padawans in their temple outpost. So I have a feeling after reading Edge of Balance, I think if I were to choose a High Republic outpost to be a Padawan or to be a Jedi at, I would probably pick Banshee. But what stands out to you guys, Alex, for these new synopsises and these books that are coming out?
I think Rising Storm is still the one that I'm most excited to dive into, because Light of the Jedi was my top of wave 1. So I'm like, I got to find out, what happens to Loden, what's going on.
That's so true.
What really jumps out at me from all of them is how centralized this is around the Republic Fair. I really like that. I was kind of assuming that the whole first phase would be all about like the Great Disaster, and I'm glad that it's not. Like, that was an already really terrible thing for the Jedi to deal with. It was already bad, and to know that that's just what's kicking off the first phase, and that wave 2 is going to focus on like a completely different event that will probably be just as impactful. That really excites me, that every single wave is going to kind of have its own linchpin instead of staying focused on the same thing for too long.
Yeah. I am of two minds, and yeah, like you said, I am really excited to see more about this Republic Fair. Daniel did tell us about how tightly woven Race to Crash Point Tower and the Rising Storm are going to be. That always makes me excited to like see these connections and like stuff like that. Like, I was rereading Dooku Jedi Lost, and he talks about being on the Ataraxia in that book, and I was like, wait, he was on the Ataraxia? Like, yeah, he rode to Sereno for that event when he was a kid, rode there on the Ataraxia.
You reminded me of, speaking of just fun things from those interviews, Cavan Scott said that when he was writing Dooku Jedi Lost, they hadn't fully nailed down what Project Luminous was going to be yet. I think they had some ideas. So obviously there are High Republic connections sprinkled throughout that book, but he was like, we had like 4 or 5 ideas that we knew this storytelling thing was going to be. But since they hadn't had it nailed down yet, he did Easter eggs for all of them. And I really I just want to go back and reread the script or re-listen to it and just see if I can find out what some of those other ideas were.
That's interesting. Now I'm even more excited.
Heather,
go ahead.
Heather Collins says, should I start reading the High Republic books element in Choco? I haven't started yet because of the toxic fandom. I'll let you answer.
Do
that.
it.
Yeah. Now's the perfect time because there's only 3 books and 2 comics. Like, I think it's going to get big fast. So, yeah.
And it is fast becoming my favorite era.
It is my favorite era.
I love Legends. Of course, I always talk about like I've read 133 Legends books. That's my claim to fame. And which is not even half, but still, it's a lot of freaking books. And originally I was afraid that this era was going to be the Old Republic Light. It's going to be a great value brand, right? And it's not. And reading the High Republic has given me something that I didn't know that I needed, because the Old Republic is just more Jedi versus Sith. It's expanded and it's really cool and I really enjoy it. But to get to see like this is what the Jedi are supposed to be doing. This is what their actual job is. You know what I mean? Like it connects things in a way that is, kind of profound. Having these Jedi have to stop and think about like, hey, I just killed someone. I ended their life, and the weight that each Jedi has to carry. You're on the vectors. You can't just shoot with the blasters. You have to take your lightsaber out, lock it into place, because it has to be a conscious decision. Their value on life is really cool, and seeing the height. But yeah, with that, I'm super excited about Rising Storm, because we're going to get, because of who we're going to be to get in it, right? We're getting Bell Zettifar back. I love Bell, and watching his continued development is going to be super cool. Elzar, fast becoming my favorite. He is, if every Jedi in this era is more like Qui-Gon, he is the Qui-Gon of Qui-Gons. So I need to see that. We also have why is her name escaping me?
Ty Yorick.
Ty Yorick. Did you see the animation of Ty Yorick? Like,
yes.
Oh, I can't wait to see. I need to know everything about her. Not to mention, we see the Bax Denial on the cover, and the one that's furthest back looks like Kratos. So slightly unrelated, but I still need more of that. And then after that comes Out of the Shadows, and it's just another case where I love Wreath Silas. He's going to be back in it. Master Comac is in it, and Vernestra Rowe. So we're getting these people that we've met and seen them grow up in these isolated situations, and now we get to mix the pot. That's one of the things that was both a strength and a weakness when it comes to Legends, because the Legend stories were all about the same people. I think I love Legends, and like my favorite character is Jaina Solo, but that's probably because I've read like 40 books about Jaina Solo or with her as a main character. The canon novels has largely been about giving Star Wars this wide base, right? Not all of the stories are stacked on top of each other, but I'm curious about how well this interconnected nature is, and that's one of the things that gets me excited.
I really, another thing that I just incorrectly assumed was that the young adult characters would stay young adult, and that the middle grade characters would just stay in the middle grade books.
That's
and
true.
I really like that Vernestra is not that. She's already been in the High Republic comics. She's going to be in the YA book. I bet she'll be in an adult novel at some point. I like that these characters are going to go in and out and into different mediums.
Yeah. And you brought up a great point, Choco, about like Diet Old Republic, or that sentiment. It made me realize that the Old Republic is largely just a lot more of the prequel Jedi in an older time. They're thinking there was nothing in the Old Republic that made me think that, oh, this is what the Jedi used to be, or this is how they should be. And that's what I love about the High Republic era, and that's why I think if they ever go to the Old Republic, it's not going to be a one-to-one translation of what we know as the Old Republic into canon, because I think they have to, in some way, shape, or form, go from the High Republic Jedi to even better Jedi in the Old Republic, where it leads to their heights.
I don't know, because I kind of get the sense that this is something that Daniel Jose Older, I think, brought up, is that we've just never seen the Jedi at peacetime. So this is what they get to do when they're not fighting the Sith or fighting the Separatists. So in the Old Republic, I assume, and I think they may even mention how in the High Republic, like, we were once a military. And so I think they probably will have that kind of, we're fighting the Sith, and they might be more like the prequels, or I don't know that I see them as being better than the High Republic Jedi. if the point of this era is for them to be at their best.
That's true.
Or maybe at their most realized, most idealized version.
I could see, I mean, thinking to Old Republic, seeing the juxtaposition between General Hoth and Lord Valentine Farfalla, as one of them being a lot more like the prequel Jedi and one of them being more like the High Republic Jedi, with his golden breastplate and all this stuff. So I can definitely see both existing, and ultimately General Hoth stepped down because he could see what he was becoming to. So no, I guess I can see that as well, but you saying that just makes me think of, because sometimes we talk about how long, when it comes to like how good they are at fighting and all this stuff. These people were trained from birth, like they've been training all their life. They have to be super powerful. But if they're not being trained to be warriors, they're not being trained in wartime, that can't be true. You know what I mean? Like what were they training for? A lot of them was probably diplomacy or learning languages so that you can learning conflict resolution and stuff like that. I don't know. This has sparked like a mental thought process, and I have not gone all the way down this path, so I apologize if I'm not complete here.
I mean, you're making me think now of Jomaram. Again, Daniel Jose Older's new character in Race to Crash Point Tower. Like, he talks about Ram as if he's a Jedi mechanic. Like, he's gifted in mechanics, and that's how he relates to the Force. And like, I can see him being like, I'm not a warrior. I'm a mechanic, and I use the Force to fix things. Mm-hmm. So I think we're maybe going to see a lot more variation in Jedi instead of just like the same monk across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But did we also have like there's a Jedi musician in Light of the Jedi, someone who at the very beginning they spoke about someone that was a Jedi who ended up like being a musician as well. Briefly.
I can't recall, but I can see that.
But I do have a philosophical question. Well, not a philosophical question. I want to go into the philosophy of the Jedi. So like, if you were to go to the Old Republic from the High, would their philosophies, would their doctrines remain the same? Like, we're seeing a lot of leniency. We're seeing a lot of encouraging independent thought, and this less strict nature than we see in the prequels. Even though in the Old Republic they would be more militarized, as they say, would their ideals and would their doctrines and dogma be more strict as well?
I think it probably would by nature. Like, I think it comes down to the peacetime where they're like, we probably don't have to adhere to this code so strictly. And we can relax a little bit. Like, no one's attacking. The Sith are extinct. At least they think so. So like, why not just kick back, stretch our legs a little? Like, yeah, you want to be a mechanic, be a mechanic. You want to be a musician, go for it. Like, I think that their doctrine probably loosened up.
Also, Julie Christine has helped like create this weird kind of headcanon that I guess I have now. Because, in Light of the Jedi, someone talks about reading these Jedi romance novels. So now in my head, I have there are some masters somewhere like Kakashi who are always reading these books. And
there's
B,
a Jiraiya, right?
There's someone like Jiraiya who is like a Jedi master who's writing, going around the galaxy, cataloging stories, and then writing these. Yeah, I would love to see that.
Yoda. For 900 years has he written about these Jedi romances. That's how he gets it, right? That's how he keeps it at bay. That feeling.
Also, talking about the Old Republic as well, I mean, there is something to be said about our history. You know what I mean? There's been times of just straight warfare. Like you can go back thousands of years to the Assyrians, like being dicks around the galaxy, or some ages that were more enlightened than others. It's kind of a continuum. So I could definitely see possibility that 3,000 years ago they may have been a lot rougher and had this pendulum swing back after this great war ends of like, hey, we need to. It makes it more likely that you would want this pendulum to swing in the opposite way after that finishes.
Yeah. And Alex brings up a great point in terms of like the Republic Fair. What I love most about these phases or these waves that they're doing with the High Republic is that like we are actively participating in the passage of their time. So with the first wave of books, everything that we read was centered around the Great Disaster, whether it was a test of courage where the Great Disaster happened and then they happened to be on like the fringe or the frontiers, and they happened to be attacked by a Nile, and then that led to their circumstance where Into the Dark is they're in hyperspace in the middle of this thing happening, and then they get flung out, and then they go on to their story there. And the Great Disaster is the linchpin, and the Republic Fair seems to be the linchpin of this set of books. And it's kind of like each wave of the High Republic is going to be the passage of time where every event is going to, every like set of books that releases around it is going to be centered around an event that is just creating these eras within the High Republic. Kind of like the Battle of Yavin, but more than that with the High Republic. It's the Great Disaster, the Republic Fair, and then the next one is like the Drenger Garden show or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's interesting to think that as we follow the High Republic, time is passing and we're following it all.
And I wonder if the phases are going to do the same thing, where maybe there's a big time jump. Like maybe phase 3 ends at like 50 years before the Phantom Menace, and like each one of these books could, or phases could span 50 years, or like here's 3 big events and then we jump forward, here's 3 more big events. Like, and I'm under the assumption that like the Nile are going to be villains through all 3 phases, but they might just be in the first. They might be done in the first phase. Like so many of my assumptions have been wrong that it would be really interesting if they're like, nope, there's a whole new threat in phase 2 that continues to change the Jedi and push them into what they become in the prequels.
Yeah, it wasn't the Nile all along.
Maybe there's a pocket of Maxine warriors that were survivors. I don't know. Alex, what is the purple rod?
Oh man, I don't know, but you know what's like? Have you guys been reading the comics too?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that the Adventures comic is exploring the purple rod, whatever it is. Like, I don't know. Again, wrong assumption. Just being very familiar with most of the Star Wars Adventures line. And I'm like, yeah, these are just like short, cute little stories for kids. They teach little Star Wars-y lessons. I thought it would be the same deal, but like, no, this is an ongoing story that is so well written. I've loved it so far. And then, yeah, Markion Ro is in it, and so is his mysterious purple relic. And I'm like, yeah, this feels like something that if you want to get the full story, you got to read this too. And I love that.
Yeah. Is there anything going forward that you just need? Like, I need this to be, I mean, I'll start with my own thing personally. I need Nan back. I need
Nan and Reith.
Yeah, I need her to come back. I need to see Reith like have to deal with that and like how that shakes off, because I loved her character, and I loved the fact that like, you know, her true identity was really plain to see if you paid attention to it, and you're like, oh, I didn't see that. Like, God, at least I didn't see it right away. But I think their thoughts about each other were true and genuine, and I'm curious how that's going to come back and play out. But additionally, the relationship between Elzar and Ava, I think there's going to be some significant development there, and I'm going to need to see Leox again. I need to know what's going on with the vessel.
I think he's coming back in the Wave 2 Adventures comics.
Nice.
So Geode in visual form should be just months away.
Absolutely. And I love what they're doing with the naming convention of these books too, right? And like, I think we're seemingly getting a sequel to each book out of like the ones that connect together. Like, I don't know how this connects together, but I'll just say it does. Light of the Jedi, The Rising Storm, Into the Dark, Out of the Shadows.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be interesting. A race to Crash Point Tower, The Edge of Balance. No, that's not good.
But I was just gonna say, if it's Light of the Jedi, well, a Rising Storm is gonna start to block out that light. I don't know.
That's true.
Connects to me.
It connects. So what's the prequel of Tempest Runner? Or
Cloud Chaser.
Cloud Rider.
I think. Go ahead, Pep.
No, I was just gonna ask. Do the Cloud Riders is the Cloud Riders and Enfys Nest a light side tribute to the Nile?
We've had this question before, and I see it. I can see it happening.
Yeah.
Like they wear the masks. I can see the Nile being like beaten down and then shifting their ways over time, where it's like, we're still raiders, but now we're good guys. Like, I think that's a really cool connection.
Oh, I mean, kind of the way I see it is as if, well, same thing with the Amaxing Warriors in the future in Bloodlines, where I could see like they've ended, but there's this group that's needs to start doing raiding. They're like, okay, we need to be scary. Who's scary? Let's get our history books and and look them up and kind of model themselves after it.
Yeah. Oh, so much to look forward to. They have Showdown at the fair as well. Everything is coming out just for the rest of the year. We have something at least for every month. And that was the case with Light of the Jedi, Into the Dark, and Test of Courage, right? I think it was January, February, March.
I think Test of Courage came out the same day as Light of the Jedi.
Right.
But yeah, we're getting the comics every month, so
June,
that holds us over.
July, August, September, October. And then I guess Wave 3 is going to be November into 22, right?
That'd be my guess. I'm wondering if they're going to do 3 waves per phase or if it's going to be 4. I think all they said was that phase 1 would go into 2022.
Okay.
So it still could be another few waves, but 3 sounds appropriate.
Yeah.
But one of the other things I love is the fact that we're getting this awesome interconnected story, this new timeline. At the same time, they're still having to slow down other stuff. Like we got a new Thrawn book that's coming out. We're getting a new Queen's Hope is going to be coming out in like November. Bad Batch is just coming out. We got a ton of new shows. It's a great time to be a fan.
Yeah.
It's great and overwhelming.
It is. But I have faith that like Disney Plus is going to do a thing where it's just going to be like a feeder like situation where it's going to be one show into the next. They might overlap with Marvel in some cases, but if you're just strictly a Star Wars fan, it might just be Book of Boba into Mando season 3, into Ahsoka, into Rangers of the New Republic, into Andor, into Kenobi, what have you. I think they're just going to flood the gates with just stuff for you to watch at every week, every month. of the year.
Which is the smart thing to do. It means that if you can't be someone that, oh, I'll just get a free trial.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a thing. That's not a thing. And but also, we talk about like Marvel and Star Wars because they're both owned by Disney. But let's also recognize that it's Lucasfilm and Marvel Studios. Right? There's like two separate studios doing things. I'm sure that there is some guidance, so as not to cloud the release schedule too much. But at the end of the day, these are two different studios who are going to do what they want to do and do what they need to do.
Yeah. Do you guys prefer a plethora of content or like a feeder situation? Because I want Disney Plus to at some point get to a point where there are some shows where you have it on the back burner and you're like, you're going to binge it, like Netflix, for example. Like, there's a lot of shows that I still have yet to watch. Or do you just prefer like one show?
Do you mean like
ends?
a weekly release versus all episodes at once?
Yeah, like a weekly release, and also like the shows premiering not in tandem but sequentially, so that it just leads into the other.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. I love that they went weekly. I was really worried that they were going to do like The Mandalorian season 1, just here's all 8 episodes, go. Like I'm very happy that they did a weekly thing. And we're seeing this with like WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, getting to like speculate on all these shows and wondering what's coming next. Like that's half the fun, I feel like.
Yeah.
Agreed, 1,000%. Like you just get to marinate, because there's also a lot of small details and things like that you would never notice if you're trying to get through it, especially as a content creator as well. If you were like, okay, I want to cover this. Unfortunately, a part of content creation is trying to be first and not necessarily trying to be the most accurate or the most detailed. But like, I can see the possibility of missing certain things, missing certain subtleties or details because you're cranking through this thing. I do like having this weekly release schedule, but I wouldn't be opposed if they had multiple shows running at the same time. I think that Star Wars is for everyone, and I know that we pretend like that's a common belief, but at the same time, you have to realize, like, okay, I'm not going to be the target demographic for each and every show. Because if I am, then it's not for everyone. It's for me specifically. Yeah. And I would love to, if we can kind of get that type of diversity where there is stuff for a plethora of people happening at the same time, that we can all enjoy it.
Yeah. Captain Caleb 100 says it ensures that those who prefer visual media and don't read the books are always having something while keeping the movies as events again. Yeah, I mean, there's something for everybody, as we keep saying, I just love that Star Wars is at a point where it has just as many pages of source material that are canon now, though. Actually, more so, because obviously they weren't canon, but like it's awesome that we're in a space, or we're in a time where we can finally look to the books and comics and say, hey, that is actually canon information. Whereas back then, we had books and comics, but we didn't know whether or not that affected things in the movies, or if they were consistent with lore. And, we didn't have this gestalt to kind of look at as a canon timeline of everything.
I'd probably just play it a little safe. Like, I still kind of treat the books, comics as like not headcanon. Like, I'm like, yes, this is a canon story. It matters. But sometimes little details will change. Like Cobb Vanth's story in The Mandalorian is different from how it was in Aftermath. Not in a major way, but details don't quite line up. And I'm like, don't care. Love that Cobb Vanth is in this show. Like I'm still over the moon about that. But I think that just by nature of this big, expansive universe, sometimes details aren't going to line up, and it's like, I just got to be prepared to let that go.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is far too much to be perfect. But it is a lot. In my opinion, it's better than it was before, where
Yeah.
all the new stuff just ignored everything. Now we kind of have this two-way street, which is one of the things I love, because like we get Ahsoka and the Mandalorian, and I love that these characters are evolving. Like, we see a character who last time we saw them was in their timeline 6 years ago, maybe a little bit more than that. And we know that she's had adventures in that 6 years, meaning she's not going to be the same exact character then. And I love that, because that means that in some other form of media, we may get the backtrack. We may get the find. I mean, we know she never, in the Mandalorian, she never said the "I'm no Jedi." She had her Silka beads on her, and last we saw her was when she found out that Anakin was Vader. We watch her in the Mandalorian, and she talks about how I've seen how it can corrupt the best of us. I'm curious, like, in that time period, in that 5-6 year span, did she think back at her time on the Jedi and be like, "Oh damn, they were right about everything"? Maybe she is, maybe she doesn't. I'm curious, because even when the characters are not on screen, they're still doing stuff. They're not in some form of stasis. I think that's super cool that we can get those stories in other places.
Yeah. And it was a large point of contention when Kathleen Kennedy came out and said that they didn't have thousands of pages of source material to work off of, and that was largely true, because not a lot of that was, that a lot of legends did not adhere to a strict canon structure, and they weren't canon, so they didn't have it. But now, excuse me, the situation is so vastly different. We have so many pages of source material now that they could pull from. Vader 2017 can have its own show. Star Wars 2015, Vader 2015, all of this in between stuff can have its own show. All of these
Vader 2020 can make us cry. Yes,
absolutely. And we are now inundated by books and comics that could potentially serve as shows.
That'll be interesting to see if they ever do stuff like that. I'm probably a little bit selfishly like, I don't want them to do that, because I already got that story. But
Yeah.
I know that I am the minority in Star Wars fandom, where if they were to announce, hey, we're doing this show about Darth Vader, and it's about his days immediately following Revenge of the Sith, and it goes up to him building his castle and all that stuff, I'm sure most fans who have no idea about that comic would be over the moon. So it's not like it's a dumb decision for them to do that.
Yeah. And it would be kind of like an olive branch to both sides, right? People who read the comic are like, "Oh, I know this story," and then people who haven't read it, they're like, "Oh, this is a story," and so like everyone gets the picture. And the comic fans appreciate the adaptation, and then the casual fans appreciate the story because they hadn't had the story before. But it's an interesting time to be in.
I'm gonna need a live action Dr. Aphra.
At least one, right?
Chloe Bennett or bust.
I'll do anything for a crazy Indiana Jones style adventure in Star Wars. I'd love that.
Yeah. I mean, we are getting a lot of cross genre stuff with these shows and these different directors on The Mandalorian. So we could potentially get just a whole bunch of like different genres of different shows and different types of shows, and it's just going to be crazy. But we are running out of time on this episode. If you guys are still tuned in on the chat, thank you for sticking around. We are about to start our new tradition, so to speak, And we are going to host a Kahoot quiz. This is a sequel edition, so if you claim to be a fan of the sequels, if you claim to know your stuff about the sequels, you may participate and prove your mettle. And of course, Choco and Alex, or Brandon and Alex, you are, encouraged to participate as well. Brandon, discouraged from playing twice at the same time as last time. You can tell Alex about that story while I set it up.
Yeah. So last time I played twice. One was on my phone named Banana, and my goal was to answer everything correctly, but to answer slower on my main one, so people would be like, okay, I'm beating Choco, I'm beating Choco, I'm beating Choco. And then the winner was Banana, and I was like, I was Banana all along. But apparently that's not cool. So
all right, it's time to start the Kahoot. I will put it up on the stream right now. You may join whenever you see the pin. I will allow the questions to show up on your devices, so you do not have to watch the stream and deal with the latency there.
How does Kahoot work? I will.
So you can go to kahoot.it on your browser, or you can go to the Kahoot app on your phone. But if you don't have the app on your phone, you can go on the browser on your phone as well. And it'll ask you to enter the pin. And once you enter the pin, you can enter your nickname and you can join. We have Diplomat Boa in the game so far.
oh, so you change it so that it generates a nickname for you. Gotcha.
Yeah.
It helps because sometimes people do bots with inappropriate names and stuff like that.
Yeah. So we will just have to go off of these random names, this PG safe names.
I am Champion Impala.
Nice.
I got Happy Sloth, and I was like, yes, absolutely.
Here we go. I'll keep this up here for the next 2 minutes. I'll say 2 or 3 minutes, guys. You have that much time to join this Kahoot. And while everyone is joining the Kahoot, I'm going to shout out everyone in the chat again. Captain Caleb 100, Cal4, Klein Sonier, Harith, Asad Astra. Hello, Fern. Mentally Ill Sith Lord, Justin M, Sawyer, Roger, X-Core Gamer Skills, Mentally Ill Sith Lord, I said that already, Ace Bronx. Thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you guys for participating in this Kahoot quiz. Again, this is a sequel edition quiz, so everything will be about the sequels if you're a fan of the sequels.
Oh, Snowy Panda. Hello there.
Where is the Snowy Panda? I see Snowy Sable.
Oh, but that's what Justin M said in the chat.
Ah, Snowy Panther. We have a lot of Snowies. We have a Happy Sloth. Brian with the beard is also here, just listening while eating dinner. Gotcha, Brian. I will give you guys 30 seconds to join. If you have not joined in 30 seconds, we will start this Kahoot. Not me counting to 30 in my head. Have you played Kahoot before, Alex?
Not that I remember, but when I went to type it in, it was in there, so maybe you just guessed.
Yeah, I mean, it is quite the popular quiz trivia platform, and we are planning to host our own trivia tournament. Okay, no one new has joined in the last 30 seconds. Let's go for it. And for those listening on Spotify and iTunes and at home, I will be reading the questions so you can follow along. Who is not part of the final assault on Exegol? Is it Babu Freak, Wedge, Lando, Biggs? Who could it be?
My dog is outside my door dropping a bone, I think.
9 correct. It was Biggs. He unfortunately was unalive. Next question. Space Ant is on the top. Here we go. Which vessel did Vice Admiral Haldo command initially? Don't let this fool you.
These speed ones make me so anxious.
Right?
It was the Ninka. Wow. 5 people thought it was the Vigil. Interesting. Y'all need to watch The Last Jedi again. Ooh. Leaderboard shifts completely. Alex is in the lead.
Pressure.
I'm assuming Cal's gonna win, to be honest.
How many parsecs does Rey mistakenly attribute to the Millennium Falcon?
I misclicked. I don't know if you heard the 2 clicks. I didn't click wrong, but I clicked slower than I should have.
14 parsecs was the correct answer. As Han says, 12. Small shift in the leaderboard. Golden Macaw has joined the top 5. Here we go. What species on Octo does Luke take to harvesting for green milk? A Thalassiran, a Thalosian, a Porg, or a Lanai?
I don't know. I know I'm wrong on this one. Damn it.
It was a Thalassiran. Did you have anything to say about that? No? Okay. Let's move on. Green milk. Space Ant has crawled up the leaderboard. Silly Gecko has joined the top 5. Alex still in the lead. Who owned the Sith dagger used to find the Sith Wayfinder on the Death Star? Was it Trudgeon, Aplek, Festoon, or Ochi?
This one I get quiet and I'm just like focused. I have a reputation.
Luckily, all 14 of you got that right. That was Ochi. And the leaderboard stays the same. Next question. Luke used the Felinasi technique named Blank to project himself onto Crate. Was it the Simul Futuris, Ionomica, Tudaminis, or Patronus?
It was the Necronomicon.
I don't know that one. Oh,
It was the Simul Futuris. 8 people got that correct.
lucky guess.
Damn it.
Happy Sloth has taken second. Alex is still in the lead. Champion Impala. Where is Maz Kanata's castle located? Kentonica, Dakar, Takodana, Donataco. 13 got it right with Takodana. I wonder who chose Dakar, but that is a close guess. That is.
I like
that is a
Donna
point.
Taco.
I'm hungry.
Leaderboard doesn't change, stays the same. This is interesting. Next question. Rey rescues BB-8 from being scavenged by who? A Jawa, a Tito, a Greedo, or an Unkar? 13 got it correct. The answer is Tito. X-Core Gamer Skills in the chat says definitely Patronus. That is correct. He used a Patronus as well in headcanon. Which Star Wars Rebels ship can be seen participating in the Battle of Exegol? I know I read the choices, but almost everyone got it correct on the first go. This, of course, was the Ghost, the Rebels crew.
But I love the check-in from the novelization. It's a beautiful scene.
I love all of the check-ins. I wish they did that in the movie.
Ooh, Winged Gazelle has joined the top 5. Alex is still in the lead. Next question. What does Rey bypass to avoid destruction in hyperspace? This, of course, was an easy gimme question. She bypassed the compressor. Mentally ill Seth Lord says, I'm not moving. Well, do better, dude. Do better. Silly Gecko has retaken 5th place. Next question. You're afraid that you'll never be as strong as blank. Interesting. I wonder who answered Palpatine and Snoke. The correct answer was Darth Vader, of course. You're afraid that you'll never be as strong as Darth Vader. Ooh. That...
Am I to assume Sawyer is Space Ant?
I'm not sure. But the top 5 has changed once again. So moving on to the next question. Which ship becomes the spearhead for the Haldo maneuver? The Anodyne, Vigil, the Radis, the Ninka. This music pumping.
We can't hear it on our side.
The correct answer, of course, was Radis. Haldo initially commands the Ninka, and when Leia gets injured, she takes over the Radis. And the top 5 changes once again. Winged Gazelle and Diplomat Boa have entered. Next question. On what planet does Kylo Ren find the Sith Wayfinder? Korriban, Geonosis, Mustafar, Exegol.
I actually got this question in a trivia competition a couple weeks ago.
And did you get it correct?
Yes.
Well done to 12 people who thought it was Mustafar, and I'm sorry to the 3 who thought it was Korriban. Known as Korriban in antiquity. Top 5 has not changed. Next question. What is the incident revolving Rathtars killing several people on Trilia? The Rathtar Massacre? A Trilla incident? The Rathtar Attack? Trilia Massacre?
Oh, I don't know this one.
Yes, it was the Trilia Massacre. Finn talks to Rey about it. As they are moving to re-secure the Rathtar that Han has revealed he is hauling. And, ooh, Golden Macaw has jumped into the 3rd place. Interesting. But of course, Alex is still holding on to that top spot. What is the device that Kylo Ren uses to navigate to Exegol? Is it a Sith holocron, a Sith datacron, a Darth Wayfinder, or a Sith Wayfinder?
I feel like there's just this whole quiz is like either super easy or just don't know it, like just straight up no clue.
That one about Luke and the technique he used to project himself came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's a question I use a lot. It is referenced in the Rise of Skywalker visual dictionary, so you kind of have to be a nerd, and I am a nerd. Yes, this is Sith Wayfinder. I'm disappointed to know that no one guessed Darth Wayfinder. I thought that would have been funny. And the top 5 changes once again. Diplomat, Boa, and Snowy Sable are fighting desperately with Winged Gazelle. And I dropped it. Okay, next question. On which planet was Cantobite Resort located? Don't overthink this.
So how did you end up doing in that trivia contest, Alex?
It wasn't a Star Wars trivia contest specifically. It was Schmodown, so it was for Inner Geekdom, which is like Star Wars, Star Trek, Middle Earth, like a bunch of different things. But some Star Wars questions get thrown in. I did win it, but I I got lucky. And in the round 2, you spin and you get questions from one fandom, and I got Star Wars, so
Nice.
I lucked out there.
Nice. Let's see here. X-Core Gamer still says, I only know Simulfaturis because of Element. Yes. Fern says, I am doing a bad job. Wow. That is objectively a correct statement.
Fern has already won by being awesome, so.
She has. She's won all of our hearts. Next question. Unseen for generations. A blank in the force.
Nobody better get this wrong.
Don't get this wrong. We have 2 incorrect answers when the answer is on the screen next to you guys. This show is called A Dyad in the Force for a reason. It's been unseen for generations. Sawyer Markham says, come on, these are too easy. There's still a long way to go. Top 5 remains the same. Next question. What was the monster Han had trapped in his cargo freighter? Was it the Rathalos, the Rogwart, the Rathtar, or Bargullet?
Bargullet knows the truth.
Awesome. 12 people got it right. It was the Rathtar. Cal says, had to throw in some easy ones. Absolutely. You can't always have... It's the difficulty has to kind of be balanced across questions. What are Kylo Ren's cohorts' names? Or what are they named? The Knights of Kylo, the Knights of Ren, Knights of Snoke, Knights of the First Order.
I thought I was going to have to name them.
The correct answer is Knights of Ren.
I don't know if it's sadly or gladly have them memorized.
Do you know all of the names of the Knights of Ren?
I think I could do it. Trudgen, Aplek, Vikrul, Kuruk, Ushar, and Cardo.
Ooh. That's
I
something
I couldn't tell you
do.
who is who. I know Trudgen has the big sword, and that's about it.
Yeah, Aplek has the mace, I think, right? Or the bludgeon weapon. And he's the
That
one.
I don't know. I stopped at the names.
I do know that Aplek is the one that got force pushed into the crack by Ben. Top 5 remains the same on this leaderboard. Alex is still in the lead. Next question are of the following: whose voice does Rey hear during her fight with Palpatine? Kiadi Mundi, Plo Koon, Ezra Bridger, Ayla Secura. This is tough because I didn't go with that. Oh, okay. 11 people got it right.
It made me sad because it made me realize I wanted Plo's voice there.
Ray's like, be with me, and Plo is like, I am with you. Question: if he is a Force ghost, does he have his modulated voice or his what is he again? Keldor voice.
I mean, it would depend on how he thinks of himself, how he sees himself, right?
That's true. Mentally ill Sith Lord is on a 14-hour answer streak. So I wonder if he's gonna break it.
You'll notice that Force ghosts don't show up naked. So
this scoreboard is very close. It's going from 18, 17, 16, 16, 15. It could change at any given moment. But the next question is, on which system did the New Republic establish itself? Ooh, we got Light of the Jedi fans in here thinking it's the Hetzel system. The correct answer was the Hosnian system. Sawyer says, no. Ugh. I guess
I'm
you
gonna
got
need
that
to play some shooter things so I can click faster.
right.
My clicks are so freaking slow. It's painful.
Next question. The top 5 has shifted a little bit. What planet did Lando first meet Rey, Finn, and Poe? Was it Kijimi, Ajin Kloss, Takodana? It was Pisana. 10 people got that correct. But the leaderboard has not changed. Alex is on a streak with 22 correct answers. Let's hope he can keep that up. Next question. What moon in the Model sector does Rey, Finn, and Poe meet Janna?
Alex doesn't have a 22 streak. It's that he's perfect.
Oh, that's true.
There's a slight difference.
Let's see if we can keep it going.
He's not gotten anything wrong. I don't think Sawyer is going to beat Star Wars Explained. I still don't know who Sawyer is on this list of friendly names, but Alex is keeping it warm up there. In a deleted scene for The Rise of Skywalker, who does Kylo Ren meet on Mustafar? You'd have to do some digging to know this answer.
Hope we get to see that at some point. Like knowing
Seriously.
that they filmed
The answer was the Eye of Webbish Bog. And that's something we should definitely see, like, visions of, right?
it. Yeah.
That'll be an awesome episode. Still the same scoreboard. Moving on to the next question. Beneath the salt flats of Crete lies a bed of red crystalline what? Rhodochrosite, Rhydonium, Cortosis, Beskar.
This is another one I don't know. Damn it.
It was
So I've gotten-
Rhodochrosite.
I knew it was one of the two.
And aptly, the answer is red. Next question. Who is the oldest? Palpatine, Yoda, Maz Kanata, Snoke. Who is the oldest in all the galaxy? Ooh. So yes, Maz Kanata is the correct answer. She is 1,000 years old. Yoda dies at 900. Very nice. The top 5 has shifted because of that question.
I got that wrong. I don't know what's wrong with me.
What does Iron Man say in Avengers? Performance issues, not uncommon. Next question. Where does Rey train with Leia? This is a gimme. The correct answer is Ajin Kloss. And the scoreboard has not shifted. We move on to question number 28. We have 2 more questions left. The Master Code Breaker's profile is wrapped by a quantum spread blank code. A bioasymmetric, a biodesecrypt, a biohexacrypt, or a biohexacipher. This is a toughie.
This one is tough.
It was so tough that Boyega had trouble saying this line for 20 minutes. The correct answer is biohexacrypt.
I knew that was Boyega's line, and I thought it had to be a different thing. You got me. I was so close.
Ooh, we broke the streak, but I still don't think you've given up the top spot. But
no way.
profiles wrapped by a quantum spread biohexacrypt code. Still on the top, Snowy Sable takes the 3rd place. Second to last question. What model X-Wing does Poe Dameron pilot? T-70 is the correct answer. Did you get it correct, Pilot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do believe Sawyer has
Where
rage
did you
quit.
get it?
Where'd he get it?
Yeah.
The black one?
Actually, we don't know where he got black one.
Wait, that is also a play on words,
So,
right?
never mind.
The black one and black one.
Yeah.
Never mind. I take it back.
Golden Macaw has taken the third place. We are in the final question. What animal does Finn and Rose ride to escape Canto Bite? Orback, Bantha, Fathier, Rogwart. The correct answer was Fathier. Is it Fathier or Fathier?
I say father.
Makes sense. Okie dokie. Who has podiumed on this sequel edition quiz? Third place is Golden Macaw with 22,932. Second place is Happy Sloth with 24,582. And the first place is Alex, Champion Impala, Star Wars Explained with 27,371. In the chat, please let me know who is Happy Sloth and Golden Macaw.
If I had to lose, I'm happy to lose to Alex and only get second place.
Ah, you're Happy Sloth.
Indeed.
Interesting. Who is Golden Macaw? Someone
Golden
in the
Macaw,
chat.
where you at? Oh, mentally Sith Lord, I believe.
Is he Golden Macaw?
Hey, DePaul.
DePaul, thank you very much for the super chat. That is a whole lot of ramen. So we are set for the year, I guess. So was it Mentally Ill Sith Lord? Okay, Mentally Ill Sith Lord is Golden Macaw. There's going to be a prize for you that I have not announced yet, but I will contact you directly for that. Again, thank you to Paul for that super chat. Back to the main stage. So how did you guys find that quiz?
Mostly easy, but then every once in a while you'd throw in just something absurd.
So the
out of
answer-
a visual dictionary, clearly, yes.
So the answer is wildly inconsistent. No, it was great. It was great though. I always have fun taking quizzes.
Oh yeah, I love the curveballs, the ones that go like, oh damn, I have no idea.
I like to do that. I mean, so famously on TikTok, I will do quizzes for people that the element style of it is easy to hard. But for these ones, I like to do, I like to just throw in hards and gimmies, maybe sometimes next to each other. And then some questions that work off of each other, like what was the Trillia massacre and what was he hauling? So thank you to Cal4 in the chat for helping me with that quiz. The big thing about quizzes is wordage. You'll find that a lot of quizzes have questions that are quite confusing. But yeah, we are out of time. Do you guys have any final thoughts, any final words? Explained, or Alex, do you have any kind of projects you want to plug or anything like that?
Yeah, I'll shout out that 2 weeks from tomorrow, I'm doing my biggest video of the year. It's the complete canon timeline. I usually do it May 4th, but because Bad Batch is coming out on May 4th, I figured I'd put it out on May 3rd. Just get that out of the way. No competition with the actual Star Wars content coming out. But yeah, I try to compile every book and comic and video game and TV show and movie into 1 hour-long video that just says, here's the history of the galaxy from start to finish. And I think I'm gonna finish editing it today, which I'm excited about. To have it 2 weeks in advance, that's a first.
Nice, very nice.
Awesome. I can't wait to check it out.
Do you have any final thoughts, Choco?
This was a lot of fun. Thank you, Alex, for coming out and for sticking around for the entire quiz. It's kind of a new thing that we're doing. and it takes the pressure off of me. So I appreciate that. Also, like, everyone, come back next week. Died in the Force. This is also available on any other streaming platforms that you find. We also have the High Ground podcast, which is myself, and it's always different creators on there. Pep comes on quite a bit. Would love to have you on at some point, Alex, but that's also available everywhere. And yeah, may the Force be with you. Keep being positive, keep loving Star Wars, and talking about loving Star Wars, because that's how we move forward, right? We just love Star Wars.
All right. Again, thank you to everyone in the chat who has tuned in for this episode. And thank you to everyone who has participated with the quiz. Thank you again to Alex for taking the time to be on the show. That is the end. On to the next one.
We are all the Republic.
For light and life.
May the Force be with you.
Bye, guys.